Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. Today, Chief Michael Sullivan will give you an update on the unfortunate incident that occurred in the early morning hours at 67 North Little Tor Road in New City. The Chief will speak and then he will take some questions. Please bear in mind this is an active investigation, so some questions will not be able to be answered at this time. Please raise your hand to ask your question, and an updated press release will be made available shortly after this press conference. Chief?
Standing up here with me is Supervisor Alex Gromack of the town of Clarkstown. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming today. Again, I just want to reemphasize what Officer Walker stated, that this is an ongoing investigation, and the purpose of this press conference, is just to update you on what's going on. Yesterday, at about 7:15 in the evening, 3 family members came into the Clarkstown Police Department and reported that a Vincent Cordero was in his residence at 67 Little Tor Road in New City, had been involved in a domestic earlier in the evening, and was in a highly agitated state. They reported that he threatened to shoot them with a shotgun, and they also reported that he also threatened to shoot any police officer that came to the house. They confirmed that Mr. Cordero was in possession of both a shotgun and a rifle, and that Mr. Cordero had narcotics and alcohol issues and was currently intoxicated. A criminal history of Mr. Cordero indicated that he had been previously arrested for DWI in May of 1998, burglary and menacing with a weapon in November of 2007, burglary in 2008, and DWI in September of last year. Officers immediately responded to the residence to set up a perimeter and assess the situation. Upon arrival, several shots were fired from inside the residence by Mr. Cordero by what officers at the scene believed to be a high-powered rifle. At 8:10 yesterday evening, negotiations were initiated with Mr. Cordero by phone. A critical incident response team call-out was initiated, and an Everbridge call was sent out to the local residents advising them of the situation. At this time, a determination was made that it would be safer for the residents in the area to shelter in place rather than to attempt evacuation. This was a direct result of the level of threat the subject presented to the public and officers by the use of a high-powered rifle with a scope. Residents were advised to keep their lights off and stay away from the windows. Throughout the negotiations, numerous shots were fired by the subject at our officers and accompanied by threats. The subject stated such things as, "I have a .308 and I'll take your helmet right off, and I'm going to put a bullet in someone's head." During negotiations, we also learned that there was a tenant still inside the residence in another apartment. At 10:07 yesterday evening, that tenant was safely evacuated through the efforts of our negotiators. Negotiations continued after that for several hours unsuccessfully. During this time, more shots were fired from the residents, along with more verbal threats to our officers. At 11:35, due to the breakdown of negotiations and the escalating threat posed to our officers and the neighbors in the area, our tactical team introduced gas into the residence in an attempt to compel the subject to leave the house and surrender. At this time, the subject opened fire and fired several more shots at the officers, and one of our officers returned fire at this time. At that time, the aggression from within the house ceased, and all attempts to reestablish contact with the subject were unsuccessful. At 12:28 a.m., we requested the assistance of the Rockland County Sheriff's Department Bomb Disposal Unit, and they introduced a robot into the residence in an attempt to locate the subject. The robot was unable to successfully maneuver inside the residence, and a tactical team was deployed into the interior of the house. They reported locating the subject, who appeared to be deceased. At 2:47 a.m., Mr. Cordero was pronounced deceased by Rockland paramedics. Our preliminary determination is that it was the actions of our officer who returned fire that stopped this threat. The officer is a member of our tactical team who was deployed with a long gun to secure the perimeter, collect information, and provide cover for our entry team. I would also like to thank both the Rockland County Sheriff's Department and the New York State Police for their assistance throughout this event. The investigation is continuing, and there's a lot more work that needs to be done before any final conclusions can be made. Thank you.
Chief, hi, Peter Haskell with CBS Radio.
Sure.
Was he drunk at the time?
That will be determined later on through the medical examiner's office. Autopsy is being conducted today, and they'll be doing toxicology reports on him.
Was there a thought to just wait him out and not going with the tactical team, not going with the gas? If he's drunk, when he sobers up, maybe it's different?
Unfortunately, he was escalating the threat to both the officers and the neighbors by firing rounds from a .308 rifle, which is extremely dangerous. We could not continue to let that go on. That posed not only a threat to our officers, but a threat to everybody in the houses around the area.
Chief, any indication yet how many times he was shot?
We believe once. That Mr. Cordaro?
Yes.
Once.
How many shots?
One shot was fired by our officers during that entire
Where did the shot hit him, Chief?
I do not have that information for you yet, Steve.
And how many shots did he fire at you guys?
We're estimating anywhere from 10 to 15 throughout the event.
Chief, you said the robot couldn't negotiate inside the residence. What was the...
There was a lot of debris, from what I was told. There was some furniture and clothing. There was a lot. The house was a mess, to put it that way, from what I understand. And the robot got tangled up in some items and just couldn't maneuver up the steps.
Chief?
So,
We spoke to some of the neighbors, and while they described him as a nice guy, giving you the shirt off the back, you know, did snow blowing for them. They also said he seemed to have some issues, depression. Do you have any insight into that? Psychological issues?
we're actually looking at all that stuff right now. Our detectives, our investigators. Again, this investigation is a long way from over. We'll be looking for any kind of motivation. All we know is that we were told that he was intoxicated. He was obviously highly agitated, and he was firing at our officers. And we responded as we had to.
Any history of domestic violence from this home before? I heard him say something.
Yes.
How many times?
I don't have that number for you right now.
And do you know when that was? When did you know of them?
We've been to that house several times.
Who were the people who came to report him, and what did they tell you about his state of mind, or just agitated?
Well, what they told us was that he was highly agitated. He was threatening to kill them and any officer that responded to the scene. They also told us that he had a history of narcotics and alcohol abuse, and that he was currently intoxicated.
Chief, how many people were in the house during the fire?
During the entire event, we believe probably at least, including the subject himself, probably about 6 people as far as we know. 2 tenants, himself, and 3 family members.
And
Is that-
family members lived, I'm sorry, family members lived there?
I don't believe so. Glenn?
No, they don't.
No, they do not live there.
So who lived in the house?
Mr.
He
Cordaro lived there.
And 2 tenants,
And there were 2 tenants. 2 tenants, correct? I know there's 2 tenants lived there.
so 3 people.
3 people lived in the house.
Chief, I'm sorry.
Those students are the sons of Mr. Cordero?
I'm sorry, sir?
Those teens, they are sons of Mr. Cordero? They are his child?
They were, yes, they were relatives. The family members, yes, they were relatives of Mr. Cordaro.
Chief, what do you know, if anything, at this point about, he called the News 12 newsroom, saying that he was having trouble with Clarkstown Police. One particular officer had been harassing him or bothering him in some way. What can you tell us about that?
Well, he was obviously highly agitated, and I think in an irrational state, to say the least. We believe that's directly resulting of an arrest that was made last September for DWI by one of our officers. I believe he kept asking for that officer to come to the scene. So we believe that it was some sort of retribution for that arrest.
Chief, and this started with an argument between him and another family member?
It was reported to us as a domestic involving him, his ex, and several family members.
Is his ex, you said?
Well, yes. We're not identifying them right now.
And she didn't live there then, if that was the second.
No, she did not live there.
Last question?
Did you want to say anything?
Last question. He was shot in the head or in one part of the body?
We're going to wait for the medical examiner to get back to us on that. Thank you very much.
What's being done for the officer?
The officer was taken to the hospital and treated last night, standard procedure, and We'll be keeping an eye on him. He's administrative leave right now. That's nothing to do with whether it was a good or bad actions on his part. That's standard procedure. And I spoke to the officer last night, and he's doing well. He's holding up very well.
Did you
Upset,
say,
but holding up well.
I'm sorry, did you say there was just one shot fired?
We had one shot fired from the police department.
Just the one, and the one that struck him?
Just one.
How far was the officer away from the house, or?
We're still doing, the crime scene is still occurring right now. The medical examiner is still doing the autopsy, toxicological report. So we don't have the specifics on it right now, Steve, but we're working on it. We'll get that information to you as soon as we have it. I should also point out here, the last thing I'd like to point out is that we did recover at this time one .308 rifle and one shotgun and quite a lot of ammunition. Do we have a number on ammunition, Glenn?
No, significant.
Significant amount of ammunition that he had in the house.
Chief, were any of his family members allowed to talk with him during this whole standoff?
That was part of the negotiation process. There were several people he asked for. I'm going to reserve comment on that at this time.
Are you going to release a picture?
Yes, I already sent that out. I'll send out another one with the additional press release. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.